So I'm Ron, and I had invited Jan, who also invited Alan, to come up to my gold claim, which I've been talking about it to him for many years during our trips and different adventures that Jan and I go on. And he said it's been on his bucket list. Well, a bucket list for Jan is beyond most people's. One item on their bucket list would equal 100 of Jan's. So finally, he got around to it, and we went up and we did some gold dredging. I've been dredging this same area since I was about 15 years old, and on good summers, and I just do it recreationally, just for the fun of it, but I'd pull about a pound of gold and nuggets a season when I'd go up, and I hadn't done it for a while, so I invited Jan and Alan. We came up, we kind of stayed in luxury in a cabin, and every morning we could just roll out and go right to the claim and start digging away. And we found a little bit of gold. It wasn't enough to do too much, but I think we found about an ounce, and that's enough to get anybody, whet their appetite for anyone who hasn't done gold mining before. Anyway, Jan filmed the whole thing. I hope you enjoy his little film, and that's it. And happy trails.
Wow. So it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're just packing up, ready to go to the airport.
All right, we're at the airport checking in. This is Jan and I on our way to meet Ron. After we all met up at the airport and got the rental car, we had to stop at a local grocery store to get as much ready-made cans of supplies as possible for our week of prospecting.
Here we are on our way to the camp, and this is actually the same canyon where we are prospecting. Ron rented a four-wheel drive because usually the roads are very bad.
And the road's in good shape. This is where I took the motorhome down.
No wonder you just hit a rock.
I didn't hit it, another guy did. And it wasn't on this part, it was on a very narrow part over here.
Yeah.
Home sweet home. I'll take you up to my old camp, which is that way. It does have a barbecue. And our dredge is sitting somewhere out over there.
So we're surveying the camp, and this is just kind of a scene of where we're staying for the week. We have a small generator here that at least keeps the lights on in the evening. We had water all the time from a different source, so we didn't need the generator, but generator would last us till about 11, and once we were in the dark, we had to go to bed. So the accommodations, it was very nice to be able to have a shower and a place to eat and a place to cook our food. It was a two-story, there was a loft. This is where Ron camped out downstairs, and Jan took over the upstairs for his sleeping. I actually pitched my tent outside because coming from Texas, I wanted to enjoy some of the cool mountain air.
I actually slept only one night up there, and it didn't feel right, so I brought a tent and I pitched it up and slept outside also. Here's the kitchen. It had all the necessary equipment to do the cooking, and here we just distribute our food that we paid $500, especially for all the cans, because we wanted to make it simple. And I was actually surprised. Ron prepared 2 very good meals.
Here's my tent outside that I mentioned before, and really nice being able to enjoy the coolness of the night.
And this is my tent, and specifically I like the tent because you don't have to crawl from the back inside. There's an opening on the side, and that makes it very convenient to go inside. Here's our first day of prospecting, walking down to the creek or small river. Everybody is excited and looking to make a fortune, LOL. Bill was already at the creek, and he was the original owner of the claim with his four-wheel drive, getting everything ready. Here you have some idea where we are located, right in the bottom of the creek of that little canyon. And also interesting was that the temperature down there is much cooler. So we always had to need a blanket in the tent to stay warm because it's very steep going up there. He was working on the sluice. That's the part that operates the gold mining process. In this picture, you see Bill and Alan working on the sluice. In the next picture, you will see the dredge. It has two components like floats, because it floats on top of the water. And the sluice box is where actually the water, which is sucked through the hose, is being discharged. And the discharge is carrying the little gold particles which will be trapped on that carpet. In the next picture, look on the bottom, there's a hose called suction hose. And that suction hose is 4 inches or 100 millimeter in diameter. So on that red arrow, which you see, that is the Venturi valve. And the Venturi valve will actually create a negative pressure created by the water pump. Putting water through the Venturi valve, that will be used on the suction tip to pick up the sand and stones that will go into the sluice box. You see another hose here. There's another Venturi valve for a pressure hose.
You spray this in the crack. And
Oh, I see.
It has a valve up here you can turn on and off with. There
Okay.
used to be one here, but it got messed up. It's better to have it here.
And what is the pressure on that, probably?
40 pounds probably.
40 pounds? Oh, that's a
It's
nice...
a 4-inch in, 3-inch out keen pump.
Oh, okay.
So I forget how many, 400 gallons a minute probably.
Now you have two Venturi valves. There's one up here, and I see one down there. Behind you, there's another Venturi valve underneath.
This is just the pump, and it goes in right here. Oh, the one up here is just for the hose. And then this is where it actually makes the suction right there.
To pick up the sand and the stones.
Just to the right of the bucket, you see the main Venturi that we've been talking about where the suction is created. And the yellow hose you see there is supplying fresh, breathable air to the regulator that the operator is using at the end of the suction hose with the sand and rocks. So now we're going to follow the hose down to Ron, who's about to start operating the end and see if we can suck in any good material to send down to the sluice box. So now we're seeing Ron with our underwater camera, some action shots of him actually operating. And as you see the suction pulling in the smaller debris, you have to be quite careful about the larger stones. If they get sucked in and your hand's in the way, you could break your fingers.
The fish who are being sucked in, they will go through the system and come out on the other side on the sluice box unharmed.
Yeah, that should be perfect.
Yeah, because I didn't want Jan to walk all the way up there, and then he was coming down. He's got some gold to show Jan.
Yeah, he showed me some gold and I was so impressed. These are pieces they found the last 50 years. And these are the pieces we found. And Alan and myself, we were happy to see those little pieces.
What we're seeing here is an example of the machine running, and you see the sluice box with the large mud rubber mat on top. The rubber mat's used to knock down the larger eddy currents that may flush gold out the back of the box. We want the smaller eddy currents at the bottom of the box to allow the gold to fall into the carpet. I'm just clearing away some of the larger stones. As the machine's running, you get larger stones that come through, and you have to continually kind of clear the path to allow the water to escape freely out the back, and don't want to impede any of the gold falling. So just kind of watching what's going on.
So we just added a piece of sheet metal on the end of the sloot box so the stones can pile up on the river. And then you have to go in with a rake and rake that pile, otherwise it gets too large. Ron is in his element. Even with a wetsuit, he can be in the water for 3 hours. I have to get out after 1 hour. Now Ron is working on a gigantic rock and he's losing the battle.
So this is Alan getting in on some of the actual dredging, and you're going to see in a second some of the harder labor in this is moving the large stones out of the way and getting to the soft sediment that we want to get to find the gold. So when Jan invited me on this trip, he told me about some back exercises to do. Now I know why.
Very good.
Hey guys, night 3. I actually did some mining dredging today, the wetsuit. At first it was kind of weird. I haven't gone underwater using a regulator in a long time, but it turned out okay. Oh, the running you hear in the background is a generator going for the cabin. Jan's still up reading. The other 2 of us younger guys are in bed already. So anyway, one thing I was saying in this video is Rick, Laurie, thanks so much for the sleeping mat. I don't think there's any way that I would have been able to sleep in a tent without it. I really appreciate it. It's made it definitely bearable. And as you can see, I still have the pillow I stole from the couch inside. But it's nice. We've only found a fleck or 2 of gold, but it's more about the experience for Jan than anything. And I was grateful that he invited me to come along. Again, it's about doing it. And it's somewhat roughing it, but not roughing it for a guy like him who's been all over the world. So I'm glad to be a part of it. So anyway, things are going good, and it's about 10:45. I'm gonna get some rest, and I think we're gonna do a little more dredging tomorrow. We may move it, the system up creek a little bit to see if we have any better luck. So everybody have a good night.
So this part is the most important part of the whole process. These steel bars are called riffles. They're bent pieces of metal to create an eddy current to catch the sand and the gold. So they have to be taken out, cleaned, and underneath is a carpet that collects all the stones and of course the gold. So this process is pretty important to collect all the gold. And there are 3 sections. That's the second section, and up there is the first section. And all those pieces of metal come out, and all the carpet is being rolled up and put in that big bucket that's on the end of the glue. It's being rolled up and put in that big bucket that's on the end of the glue. Collects all the gold and of course a lot of other stuff too.
Pull this back. I'll play with that later.
I was gonna grab that bucket. And we'll
Don't turn it back up. I didn't clean it well.
Oh shit! I thought you already cleaned it.
Oh.
Well, I always leave them in the tub until they're clean.
All right.
Oh,
Well,
just, I'll put that up here for nice and careful. Now we need to just either you're gonna roll that. Okay. Then we need the bucket.
I'll hold it.
Okay. The rig. Yeah. I'll hold the rig. I'll put a slot on it. We just throw the water in.
And let Jan see the last bit of gold.
Yeah. should be able to see the stuff down here.
Let that last little bit go on its own.
Yeah, oh no, I want him to see it. You can see right there, there's a piece. Pieces over there. Piece right there. That was a decent piece. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I've done that before. You always get something.
Yeah. What I need to do is take the measurements. I'll put it all back together tomorrow. Or actually probably on Monday.
Do we want to put it together now? Get it over
I
with?
can while you get the easy sluice, because you're gonna do the easy sluice over in the rapids.
Yeah, that's what I did last time.
Okay.
Is that easy slope down here, or is it up there?
I think so.
It's up top.
Okay, I'll get it.
Thank you. Okay, let's just put it together.
That big unit is called sluice, and the small unit is called easy sluice.
All you gotta do is jerk it over and let her run.
Oh, I see.
Since gold is heavier than anything else, it gets trapped into that carpet.
So this is one more step of separating the sand and the gold. The pump was started and it's using the water from the creek to make that separation on the easy sluice. You can see he is using the sand and gold from that big bucket that was on the end of the easy sluice and putting it in on the top, and the carpet will actually catch all the heavy pieces. What's left is a concentration that is used for the last step, that is called the gold wheel, and it will separate the sand from the gold.
Nah, that's its nature, aggressive.
If you see it getting way down here, then you're probably going too fast. Big nuggets in here. See, when I tucked it, it moved it down and it moved.
So this is the easy sluice after we've run the material through again. One more processing to try and further separate any material from any gold that we've found. So the next step you're seeing is the gold wheel, where we're processing one more time.
This is probably a better spoon. It is better. You got a spoon here. Is that one big enough? Okay. Okay, just dump it in there. As fast as you want. Okay, you can get 2 or 3 of those in there. And then watch the riffles. See the gold coming up there?
As you can see, the riffles are being employed again, but in a much smaller fashion, and you can see small flecks and little bitty pebbles of gold being worked their way up to the top to drop into our catch bucket.
That's a small container number 1 we collected the gold, and this is container number 2. I melted some gold yesterday, this part here. So the rest I'm going to melt today. These are the pieces that Alan still had. So we're ready to melt that gold. It went all the way down, I saw that. So that's already a good sign. Okay, so this is now the little piece we're going to work with it and make a wire from that one here. So this is a rolling mill, and the function of the rolling mill is after you have an ingot, you can pass through to make different shapes of material that you can use for jewelry. So you can have a flat, half round, round, triangular, and oval shape. And every time you push the materials through the roll, it will get longer, and then you turn it, make the distance smaller, and it becomes longer and longer and longer. Here is a close-up from that mill, and you can see when I zoom in the different shapes I can make.
So you keep going progressively smaller.
Yeah. So we go down a little bit more. So you have to anneal it. Means you have to heat it up. That means to release the stress inside the metal. Color, and let it cool down, and it becomes flexible again. So the annealing process doesn't need that high temperature. So I have another torch. I have to shut the light off so I can see the color of the gold when I anneal it. Has to be a dark red. A little bit more. Yeehaw! Exciting. Making progress. Okay, now we made some progress. Yeehaw! Look at that. Probably a little bit longer. Now I want to go, I have to anneal it again. Perfect. So now we're going to make a wire out of that. Okay, that's called a draw blade. You can film that. And it has different hole sizes you can see against the... So you can start in one hole and then draw it through and slowly get thinner and thinner. Someplace in here. I just have to hammer a little point so I can insert it into the hole. Done already 10 different draws, so that's the last draw, and the finished product arrives on the other side. I think that's it. We just leave it. Let me see here. We're ending up with a piece that is 1/16 of an inch in diameter and 5.5 inches long, or 2 millimeter in diameter and 140 millimeter long, in pure gold. Somebody put a lot of effort in creating a cemetery, collecting different items, and actually carving a little statue. Probably some retired people accumulating data for this particular page. The most common problem on that long page is mine cave-in, murder, and suicide. This tombstone has the following inscription on the bottom. Remember man as you pass by. As you are now, so once was I. As I am now, so you must be. Then think of death and pray for me.